soon after the investigation started, now the company, which is known as Gensol, has left his Gurgaon office. This is the prime location property at the capital space where the tech team of the company used to sit, and you can see that every employee has left this particular location. This is a very scary visual which is certainly establishing that how Post-Holi the staff stopped coming. What we have got to know that one of the Jaggi brother came to this particular office 2 days back before he resigned from the post of the managing director of this particular company. This is certainly very worrying for all those staff who were working for this particular company. You can see in the visuals the empty offices clearly establishing that what is going to be the fate of the company. The employees are certainly worried that what will happen. There have been several individuals also who are worried about this fact that how come this particular startup, which was considered to be one of the very important startup, is on this verge of shutting down. This is a location where you can see that the company's office is certainly shut. We cannot certainly say that how long the company will actually operate from this particular base. But after management has resigned, after the MDs have resigned, it is very scary situation for most of the employees because the MDs are allegedly involved in a financial fraud.
And it's not just the offices, even the company's operations on the ground have completely collapsed. In fact, our team has visited the charging hubs, the pickup points, the co-working spaces. What we found was shocking. In fact, we are going to show you this report, which was filed by Times Now's Shivam from one of BlueSmart's busiest pickup booths, what used to be rather busiest pickup booths at Delhi's IGI airport. There was a time when 1,000 rides were used to operate from here daily, and now there's a poster which says temporarily halted. Watch this.
We are currently reporting from the charging hub of BlueSmart cab services. Now, this was the place from where the cabs, the BlueSmart cabs, used to be charged. This is one of the hubs in the NCR as well. The entire place is jam-packed with all the cabs, all the BlueSmart cabs with their, iconic, the title logo with, blue B with the same symbol of electric in between. And here you are seeing the... Sir, क्या दिक्कत है सर?
यहाँ ब्रेक दिए हैं।
क्या ब्रेक दिए हैं? बोलो बोलो।
हम लोग को ऐसे परमिशन नहीं दे सकते हैं ना।
हम अंदर नहीं आ रहे हैं। मैं अंदर आ रहा हूँ सर, मैं बाहर रोड से कर रहा हूँ ना। बाहर
रोड से कर रहे हैं तो गाड़ी का मत लीजिए।
क्यों गाड़ी का क्यों ना ले सर?
हम लोग को कोई परमिशन नहीं मिला। हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, बात करके अगर ऑर्डर आएगा तो हम लोग माना नहीं, हमें ऑर्डर कर रहा है, पूछ रहा हूँ ना।
कौन मना कर रहा है? मुझे बताइए ना, कौन मना कर रहा है?
माना कोई नहीं कर, मैं अपना परमिशन ले रहा हूँ।
कहाँ आने का ऑर्डर है सर? अंदर नहीं आ रहा हूँ मैं। Am I reporting from inside? किसने ऑर्डर दिया है यहाँ पे आने के लिए? आने के लिए, यहाँ पे वीडियो बनाने के लिए? हाँ, हम न्यूज चैनल से हैं सर। न्यूज चैनल है तो आपको किसी घर में जाकर बना दो। घर में नहीं जा रहा हूँ, मैं रोड पे हूँ। ये रोड पे हो तो सर ऐसे अलाउड नहीं है। ठीक है, कौन बोल रहा है अलाउड नहीं है? कोई भी बोले। आपको किसने बोला अलाउड? आपको किसने बोला बनाने के लिए? मैं यहाँ से रिपोर्ट करूंगा। इस कंपनी के ऊपर ग्राफ चार्जेस है, करप्शन चार्जेस है। कंपनी में बात कीजिए ना। So you see the people, the workers who are working inside have stopped the Times Now from reporting, from actually shooting the visuals from inside as well. They have said that we are not allowed. However, we are standing on the road. We have not entered the property. We have not entered the BlueSmart property. From the past 2 days or from the past 24 hours, these vehicles have been stranded inside now.
Well, very shortly, we are going to be going across to all our reporters who are joining us from across the cities. We have Priyank, we have Shivam, we have Neha Hebbale, as well as Rucha and Hina Gambhir. We'll also be joined by, very shortly, by Dilip Cherian. He's right there, the founder of Perfect Relations. We also have Lloyd Matthias, who's joining us, investor and independent director. But before I come to you, let me also tell our viewers how, as per the SEBI Gensol Engineering, which had taken a loan for 71.41 crore rupees from IREDA and had transferred 26 crore rupees from its own account. In fact, these funds worth 97 crore rupees were later transferred to the Go Auto, a car dealership firm related to the company. Go Auto then had sent 50 crores to Cambridge Ventures, which was a firm which was controlled by Anmol Singh Jaggi. Well, there you have it, the entire flow of money and funds. The bank statements of the Cambridge Ventures LLP further shows that it had received 70 crore rupees in the financial year of 2023 from Go Auto and 50 crore rupees 3rd of October 2022, which was partly utilized for acquiring an apartment. Can you believe it? An apartment in a super luxurious society in Gurugram. In fact, here's a report which has been filed by Shivam from outside the super rich, uber luxurious Gurugram society.
We are currently reporting from Gurgaon, and behind me you can see this ultra luxurious building containing, flats and apartments worth crores of rupees. And one of these apartments also belongs to the former founder and promoter of Gensol as well as BlueSmart, Unveils Jaggi. Now remember, SEBI report came up and it has alleged that Mr. Jaggi has siphoned off money from the funds raised for the company to buy personal perks for the personal bucks, and to buy a flat in this particular area which is worth more than 40 crore rupees. Now the average price of this particular area of one flat, which is 3 BHK, 4 BHK, 5 BHK, starts from 40 to 50. However, the money from which he bought the flat was basically siphoned off from the funds that came for Gensol and as well as the BlueSmart agencies. Not just that, the money has also gone to other sources, be it paying for the trip, lakhs of rupees for the trip, be it transferring the money to the account of Unveils Jaggi's mother as well as other family members, also paying for the Titan watches, the golf course. So these are all the ultra luxurious expenses made by Mr. Jaggi, by the Jaggi brothers, in name of raising money for the electric vehicles, which never came. So far, BlueSmart has also stopped it functioning at the airport and other part as well.
In fact, Times Now has been breaking down every little aspect and getting you all the details of the revelations which have been coming in by the SEBI, the allegations which have been made with regard to the BlueSmart scandal. So let me go across to Rucha first. Rucha, you must break it down to us, the revelations which are coming out from the SEBI, where it says that 25 crore rupees was siphoned off by the promoter. Not just that, there was money which was being spent on spa sessions, on luxury watches, and even a golf set worth 26 lakh rupees, and of course these uber expensive flats in Gurugram.
Well, the founders have been misusing the funds which was invested by the public, and I am currently at the Tsakans outlet, the Tsakans plant, which is in Pune, and you can see this is the entire plant premises. The entry gates of the plant has been closed, and when we tried to speak with the authorities here, they said that it is only temporary. The plant is running, the manufacturing is going on, but when we managed to get the workers, they told us that it's been 2 years, only 14 vehicles have been manufactured so far in 2 years, where the company was claiming to have a pre-order of 29,000 EV vehicles, which is a three-wheeler EV vehicle, which these guys were making. These are the processing engineers as well as the testing drivers of the company, and they have been told approximately 1 month ago, on 18th of March, they were asked not to come to company, and saying that the company is now going to shut, and they are now fighting for their salaries. They are coming here every day, every single day. They are coming here questioning the authority, trying to contact the HR and their contractors to get more updates on their salary. Let us go to them and let us understand what kind of work this company was doing. Sir, आप यहाँ पे किस तरह का काम करते थे और आपको कब बताया गया कि आपको काम पे नहीं आना है?
मैं इधर 4-5 महीने से काम कर रहा, लेकिन 22 मार्च को कंपनी बंद पड़ी हमारी। 22 मार्च को हमको बताया गया कि कल से प्लांट बंद है करके, तो हमको पहले कुछ उन्होंने बोला नहीं, कुछ नहीं, और हमारा पेमेंट भी बाकी है। और मेरे जैसे बहुत लड़के लड़की को काम से निकाला उन्होंने, अभी पेमेंट भी नहीं दे रहे, और साहब लोग हमको रिप्लाई भी नहीं दे रहे, HR कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ये वगैरह कोई हमको रिप्लाई नहीं देता.
The company has been abruptly shut, and the people, the workers have been asked to leave. Now let us also ask कि किस तरह से यहाँ पे काम होता था. ये EV गाड़ियों के बारे में जो बात हो रही है, क्या ये जगह उतनी कैपेसिटी रखती है कि 30,000 व्हीकल्स यहाँ पे बन पाए?
नहीं मैडम, इतनी कैपेसिटी यहाँ पे नहीं है, और बावजूद इधर होगी मालूम नहीं, लेकिन वो हमको एक दिन पहले काम को आने को नहीं बोल रहे. उनका जैसे पॉलिसी रहता है कि आपको काम छोड़ने से पहले 15 दिन पहले या 1 महीना पहले आपको लेटर देना पड़ता है। हमको 1 दिन पहले बोला हूँ कल से काम पे मत आओ। हम इधर 1 साल से मैं काम कर रहा हूँ। ये 2-2.5 साल से प्लांट खड़ा है यहाँ पे। अभी तक 14 व्हीकल ओनली मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हुआ है, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं हुआ है। लेकिन हमारी सैलरी, हम 15 दिन से यहाँ पे रोज आते हैं, कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं, किसी का फोन नहीं, कोई कॉल उठाता नहीं, कोई ठीक तरह से बात करता नहीं। हम 15 दिन से यहाँ इतने धूप में रोज आते हैं, यहाँ बैठते हैं और जाते हैं। कोई वैल्यू नहीं है, कोई ये नहीं है।
दे आर नॉट इवन। सर क्या बताएंगे, कितने दिन हुए आप यहाँ पे रोज आ रहे हो, आपकी सैलरी के लिए डिमांड कर रहे हो, और क्या आप काम करते हैं यहाँ पे?
मैं यहाँ टेस्टिंग ड्राइवर का काम करता हूँ और मेरा सैलरी 7 तारीख को होता है, मगर अभी तक किया नहीं। हम कॉन्ट्रैक्टदार को फोन करके बोलते हैं सर पेमेंट क्यों नहीं हो रहा है। वो बोलते हैं कि कंपनी पेमेंट नहीं दे रहा है, इसलिए हम भी तुम्हारा पेमेंट नहीं दे रहे। जब कंपनी देगा तब हम देंगे। HR को फोन किया तो रिसीव नहीं करते हो और कोई रिप्लाई नहीं देते। हम यहाँ ड्राइवर का काम करते हैं। हमारा जो बाहर से लोन वगैरह लिया है उसका भी मंथली जो हफ्ता रहता है वो भी थकित है, उसके ऊपर भी बाउंस चार्ज लगा है, वो भी भरने को पैसा नहीं है हमारे पास। हम इनको बार बार कॉल करके बोल रहे हैं कि सर पैसा दो पैसा दो, वो भी पैसा नहीं दे रहे। हम क्या करेंगे, घर पे बैठे, काम नहीं है, कुछ नहीं। अभी 1 महीना हो गया हम घर पे।
Now the workers are also demanding, they are requesting the authorities to pay their salaries, and we have seen that it's been almost a month since the workers are told not to come to the work, and there are very few people that are working here, and the National Stock Exchange person, the officer had come here on 9th April at this exact plant to verify what kind of work, what kind of manufacturing that the company is stating that they have been doing so far, is how it's done and what kind of work is going on. And the NSE officers, while investigating, found that there was no manufacturing happening at all, and they took the electricity bill of over 12 months, and they found out that the electricity was also not being used. There was no sign of manufacturing, and the arrangement, whatever the material is made here was not in place. And like the workers have also highlighted, this place does not have capacity of manufacturing 30,000 vehicles which they were claiming. And even after 2 years, the 14 vehicles which have so far been manufactured are still in trial phases. They are not being launched, or they are not even ready. They are only on trial phase. Now the workers are also requesting the authorities and fighting for their salaries, which the company has failed to pay them. Over to you.
For bringing this to light, because amidst the greed and the luxury, the extravagance, it's these people who today are going to feel the price and rather pay the price for this greed. Let me also go across to Priyank. Priyank, where are you joining us? I know you were earlier at the corporate offices as well of BluSmart investing. Just one day before the Jaggi brothers were to step down, one of them went in and went to his office. Do we have any details about what he did while he was inside the office?
See, we were trying to get in touch with the staff members, Meghna, because what they claim that the salaries have not been paid. We just heard that what drivers have been talking about, that they were not aware. In fact, the corporate office staff were also not aware about the MD stepping down, and they were also shocked to know that how come the managing director of the company can step down. Then when we told them that this is because of the SEBI's investigation, and which suggested that they had to step down. But interestingly, when the BSc press statement from the Gensol company can be looked into, the statement came out on 16, which claimed that both the Jaggi brothers have stepped down from the company. And if you see, the staff have been saying that that Sahab 3 charge in pehle aaye the, which means that a day before stepping down from the post of the managing board of directors, one of the brothers, Puneet Jaggi, had visited this particular corporate office where the tech team used to sit. We have seen the scenario, no one is there. The tech team has mostly left or have been told not to report to the work. Because the company is certainly on the verge of shutting down. This is what we can sense. But the timing is very important, because the owners
visiting the office where the document pertaining to the loan and other things could have been there a day before stepping down from the position, knowing the fact that from next day they will not be allowed to have that kind of access to the company's office, is certainly making this case more murkier. The question which will have to be asked, that why is it so that he visited this particular office, whether there were few important documents which could have also gone missing, because we can clearly see that the economic offence wing or the ED can be roped into this particular investigation, because every bit of the detail which has been mentioned by the SEBI's report is pointing out that how false documents were given to SEBI, the document which pertains to these public sector banks which had provided the information and the money to these companies, and multiple things were shown to be forged according to the SEBI's data. Then the visit of the owner to this corporate office where the documents of the loan could have been there is certainly a very worrying thing for the next investigating agency to take over, because so far we have the analysis from the SEBI side, but this is a case where the ED can be roped in for further investigation. This is what we can clearly see. But for that there has to be a predicate offence FIR which is yet to be filed.
That's very interesting. There's a possibility if there is a predicate offence FIR first, then the ED may be stepping in as well. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens on the investigation front. But let me go back across to Shivam, because he has been speaking to several of the employees who've been left in the lurch. Shivam, any kind of outreach has been made towards them to clear their dues, because many of them seem to be completely left in the dark about their future. What happens next?
Well, Megha, definitely. In fact, a lot of them didn't know anything about the resignation or the SEBI report or any kind of probe happening on the Gensol as well as on the BluSmart. When we tried and talking to the drivers, the employees of the particular organization, they were in shock when we told them that Mr. Jaggi has resigned or is barred from the post. They are completely clueless. What they have been told was that the company is going into audit and it will resume from Monday morning. So they were in a hope that from Monday morning everything will be normalized. But when we talked to them and we tried to understand what is their perspective, it seems like they have been in complete dark. They have absolutely no idea about what is exactly going on. And remember, unlike any other cab services, the BluSmart agency, the BluSmart cab service, according to the drivers, were based on fixed money, so that they get fixed money on a particular day. It's not like about how many rides did they do. So if they are removed from this particular post, if they are not being given rides, their every daily wages is getting affected, and they are most often than not the sole bread earners of their family. So that is the problem with all the employees, be it the drivers or be it the other employees as well. When we went to the charging station of the EV, if all the security officials suddenly got alerted by seeing the camera as well as the mic. It seems like the mic and the camera often alert the people who have done something fishy, and they didn't even allow us to record the cabs. You can see the number of cabs that were standing there in a peak office hour is just surprising. When we talked to the people outside, they told us that charging station normally remains empty because all those cabs are normally on the roads. So imagine 300 to 400 cabs, 300 to 400 cab drivers in the NCR suddenly in a day lose their job, and they don't even know what is going to happen, if their dues will be cleared, if they will get any advance payment, if they will be listened, and even if they will be called to the office. Suddenly they have been called to the charging station, the keys are taken up, and then they are told that you don't have to come from tomorrow. So this is how the entire situation had panned out for them. They're absolutely clueless, and they don't even know how to proceed it further, because till now they don't even know what the exact situation. They were in a hope that from Monday they will resume their job and everything will be like a hunky-dory like it was.
Right.
However, the situation is completely different from what it appears to be. Back to you.
Well, in fact, do stay on with us. Dilip Cherian, what does this mean for the startup ecosystem? Of course, it started with massive fanfare. This was going to be the EV dreams, but now the money being siphoned off for extravagance itself. This seems to have shaken the faith of many investors, especially on this startup ecosystem.
A startup owner buying a flat in Camellia is the largest red flag. It's almost like a red bed sheet, And I think that while I'm a great believer in startups, the founders who begin to get trapped into this, vulgar display of massive assets funded by public shareholders is something that we need to worry about. We've just had the the situation of Byju's. And there are many such companies where red flags are visible. People are keeping quiet because both employees as well as initial investors have a vested interest in trying to keep propping these guys up for a while. But the collapse is inevitable, and there is no doubt that it is the contribution of the siphoning, which is one of the pillars which cracks open and ends up with the startup giving both the startup economy as well as the company itself a bad name. And it is natural that investigating agencies have to step in, which means pretty much the end of the company.
Absolutely, but at the end of the company, it's also end of the road for a lot of the people who are associated, linked with it, especially the employees. Of course, you have the investors, the shareholders who are going to be drawn into this dark well. Let me go across to Sagarika. Sagarika, I believe you have what exactly it is that the SEBI has alleged. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is the SEBI's report, and this is the very report, Meghna, that has in fact blown the lid off this scandal as we are reporting it today. I'm going to read out one excerpt, and there's one point that even our guests have spoken about, is how the funds were used to also buy properties in uber luxurious societies. What did SEBI say with regards to that purchase? I'm going to read out an excerpt. In para number 34 in the SEBI's report, it goes on to say, and I quote, on the 6th of October 2022, it was noted that Cape Bridge transferred 42.94 crore to DLF. As per information provided by DLF, the above payment was made towards consideration for the purchase of an apartment in the project The Camellias. The submissions made by the DLF are summarized below. On the 29th of September 2022, a sum of 5 crores was paid by Jasminder Kaur as advance for booking an apartment in the project. On the 6th of October 2022, Cape Bridge paid 42.94 crores to DLF as part of the consideration of the above apartment booked by Ms. Kaur. On the 20th of October 2022, the allotment was formally made to Jasminder Kaur. Thereafter, on request, the allotment was substituted in favor of Cape Bridge. The advance of 5 crores was returned. Now, here is a pictorial representation of how the transactions took place. So, Gensol received the disbursement as loan from IREDA and promoter margin. What was the amount? 93.88 crores. Then it goes to Go Auto Private Limited. How much is the amount? The date mentioned is 10th of October. 2022, 50 crore rupees. Then Cape Bridge Ventures comes into the scene, which is an enterprise that is significantly influenced by Anmol Singh Jaggi and Puneet Jaggi. Then the disbursement of 42 crores happens. So here is that entire report, which goes on to raise questions about the money that now SEBI says is unaccounted for.
Well, thank you so much for getting us the details of how exactly the laws were bent and twisted by the Jaggi brothers. Let me go across to Hina. Hina, can you give us a sense of how many people are going to be impacted by this kind of an alleged scam which is now coming to light?
Well, lakhs and lakhs of people today are going to be impacted because of what has happened with BlueSmart. You know, a company that came as a promise in the, cab services across India. It gave a tough competition to the likes of Ola and Uber, and it was promising because it was green. But today, because of this scandal, because of this corporate fraud, because of the way the Jaggi brothers, allegedly diverted the money that should have been used to buy electric vehicles for BlueSmart, for their personal use, for perhaps buying a luxury apartment in Gurugram, for buying a golf set worth several lakhs of rupees, for buying forex, for using this money for their family members. All of this is going to impact lakhs and lakhs of people. I'm saying that because, Meghna, we were speaking with, driver associations as well. And within Delhi NCR alone, there are about 8,000 odd drivers. Remember, for drivers as well, working with BlueSmart was much better than working with companies like Ola and Uber because incentives were better. The rides used to be cleaner. We all have experience. We all have traveled in BlueSmart. Today, those drivers, at least 8,000 of them, only in Delhi and NCR are left in the lurch. They do not really know because they are jobless today. Their livelihoods have been impacted. Their families have been impacted because of this corporate fraud that has come to light. Officially, we do not have an exact number as to how many drivers across the country BlueSmart had, but what we can tell you right
right now. 8,000 odd drivers in Delhi NCR, 8,000 odd drivers in Bengaluru for sure, who are today waiting for their own money. And apart from that, employees were suddenly told on 22nd of March that BlueSmart services are going to shut down. And now SEBI, of course, has come down heavily, and SEBI's details reveal that how the money, 978 crore rupees, that should have been, used for purchasing electric vehicles as fleet for BlueSmart, a lot of money was diverted. Out of 6,400 odd vehicles, they purchased only 4,704 vehicles. 262 crore rupees was diverted. That's what SEBI order has registered, and this clearly, Meghna, has sent shockwaves across the country, because this has also eroded the trust of the people, trust of the regulator in the startup ecosystem, which appeared to be very promising for a country like India. Just a couple of weeks ago, we heard Union Minister Piyush Goyal also, making an important point about the startup ecosystem. He came down heavily as well and said that, we don't want mom and pop store only in the name of startups. We need some real innovation. And BlueSmart, trust me, was an example that was doing something different. That was a ray of hope as far as the electric vehicle space is concerned. It was giving a tough competition to companies like Ola and Uber. And see the
it's unfortunate that we have come to this, and let me in fact bring in George Matthias also. As Hina was pointing out, Piyush Goyal had said it's time that we move on from the mom and pop kind of shows, the startups that we have in India. It's time that we invest in innovation, and this was one of the startups which was investing in innovation. For it to come crashing down, the dreams of lakhs and lakhs of people attached to it come crashing down, then this. What does it really mean? Because at the end of it, if we look at what the SEBI has said, over 3 crore rupees were given to Jaggi's own mother as well. There was, of course, this 43 crore rupee DLF, a very fancy flat being caught. Dilip Cherian himself, that there were several red flags. Who didn't heed these warnings which were coming up, would have been coming up all these years?
Was that for me, Meghna?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, George Matthias.
Yeah, I think, Meghna, the key issue here is that there's been an utter failure of corporate governance, right? I think one issue is very clearly that the two promoters' integrity is obviously very, very questionable. And now that they are missing in action, I think it's serious. But even before that, as Dilip rightly pointed out, I think there are various rings that ensure such failures don't happen with any listed entity. And remember that BlueSmart was a private company, but Gensol, the parent entity that on whom the loan was taken, is a public listed company. And typically for any public listed company, you have 4 rings to prevent fraud and misappropriation that come into play, right? The first is the internal auditors of the company. The second are the external, the statutory auditors. These are big companies that have to go deep into a company's accounts and analyze every bill. Then you have the audit committee of the board. And then, of course, you have the board itself, which has a lot of independent directors. Now, besides the promoters, I think each of these sets, the auditors, have to be held accountable and made liable. Having said which, I want to make a point, very important point, that it's unfair to taint all startups and founders as cheats. There will be a few rotten apples. This is clearly one case. We've seen issues with Byju's, with Housing.com and a few others. But I think by and large, there have been a lot of startups that have made a difference to our lives, right? So this is clearly a bad example and unfortunate. And a lot of us as users will really feel the pain. But I really think the issue has to be looked at in an isolated context to ensure that it doesn't recur. And certainly we have to go after the auditors and the board for permitting all this kind of misappropriation under their watch.
Right, Mr. Matthias. In fact, let me go across to my colleague Priyank as well. He's been tracking the developments in relation to what's been happening with BlueSmart very closely. Priyank, in terms of agency action that can now be initiated in what has transpired, what's the likely action that one can expect?
Certainly, Siddharth, looking at the scenario and looking at the kind of and the scale of scam is there, certainly the enforcement directorate will have to come into the picture in the due course of time. But before that, the economic office wing of the respective state, if there is any complaint which has been filed against the particular company, then the state government, police will have to start investigation. And because of the predicate offense, we can know that the enforcement directorate can come into picture. Because looking at the starting from the beginning, this company started taking loan from these companies in the year 2021. And in the last 3 years, the amount of loan certainly increased to more than 989.6 crore rupee. This was the SEBI's data was suggesting. And in the last 2 to 3 years, certainly more than 688 crores were taken. Approximate data has been mentioned, out of which multiple accounts were used to transfer the money. Like the money was transferred in the subsidiary companies where the Jaggi brothers have been directors on, which is certainly not allowed. The money was also transferred in the family members' bank account, which is also not allowed, because if you're taking loan for a particular purpose, citing the reason before the banks, then certainly you'll have to use that money for that particular purpose. You can imagine 25 lakh rupee worth golf kit. None of the golf kit, as far as my information is concerned, could be of this much of price. So certainly the fudging of the data is quite clearly seen from common man's point of view. What we can certainly see that when the SEBI had also asked for the document, they provided an NOC which was a fake data, fake certificate. So the state police can also come into picture, because there is a fudging of the data, wrong document provided to these to SEBI. That's why the SEBI came up with a viewpoint looking at the balance sheet of the company, that the directors should step down. But what is very alarming in the recent investigation which we have just exposed, that a day before stepping down from the post of the managing director, one of the Jaggi brother visited the company. What he did, God knows, because for months he was not coming. Since post the Holi, the company was certainly going down in a very high speed. The employees stopped coming.
Right.
So what
Priyank,
was...
let me just interrupt you for a moment. We'll wait and see as to what possible action the ED can initiate in this, if and when it does. But a follow-up question to you, Mr. Cherian. Now, we won't take any individual names here, but there were many high-profile investors associated with this particular venture. And in this day and age, where there's a lot of information about investor data available at your fingertips thanks to the advances made in technology and the accessibility of data, many investors who want to be a bit adventurous will basically look at the investor profile of a particular company, look at some big names, and then be lured as a result of that, due to decisions taken by somebody else, to invest in that particular venture. Now, BlueSmart appear to be that kind of an entity. What happens to credibility on that front, given what's transpired here and the kind of unraveling that we've witnessed?
You know, as somebody who's been watching this company for quite some time, and also taking into account what happens when big names are involved and good brands have been created. Remember, BlueSmart, a product which several people on this panel may have used, has created a brand for itself. So investors tend to take all of this as indications of future value creation, not realizing that tainted founders, while they are not the norm and definitely should not be allowed to taint an entire industry, do exist. As Lloyd has said, there are 4 rings of alert which should have rung the warning bell. And we really need to find out who were the internal auditors and who were the external auditors and who were the independent directors. These people have a statutory responsibility to report wrongdoing. Did wrongdoing happen? The answer is obviously yes. As you said, the fact is that, you know, this kind of scandalous spend of public money on private fripperies is the death of any company. People will be affected. Forget the consumer. It's going to be hundreds and hundreds of employees who are going to be left stranded. That is the real pity of it. And agencies, while they will go into the company, will ensure that nothing of value remains at the end of this process, not even the brand.
Right. Let me take this across to Hina as well. Hina, what kind of action is now initiated as far as the agencies are concerned will be critical, because tell us about the extent of damage to the credibility of the startup ecosystem that this particular incident or this particular series of events would have possibly caused, because international markets presumably will also be paying very close attention to what's happening here in India and the kind of likely corrective action that is expected as far as the agencies are concerned.
Well, that's right, Siddharth. In fact, this clearly has sent shockwaves across the country, and Indian startups clearly were making headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself has spoken about them and how important they are for a country like India many a times. And there have been several, incentives, we can say, that have been given to help, these startups get better, grow better in a country like India. We have seen all of that happening as well. But after all of this, if a fraud of this kind surfaces, it clearly impacts the image of the overall startup ecosystem in the country. You will agree to it because, just a few days ago, when Union Minister Piyush Goyal also highlighted that perhaps our direction seems to be not right, that was also an important point that he had raised, that the government had raised, because if, government's efforts are there to help the ecosystem get better, to become unicorns, all possible help is being provided. So what we expect from the founders, the promoters, is integrity. That is extremely important. But in this case, how, the founders allegedly misused the money that should have gone into purchasing the electric vehicles for BluSmart for their personal indulgence, that raises several questions. And definitely tomorrow, when a public company is looking to, give loan to a startup, will have these kind of thoughts in the mind. So it has eroded in a lot of ways trust in the startup ecosystem. Even though we are talking about one company as an example here, but this one company was an example. Now the story is fall from grace. So definitely it's going to have ripple effect as well. And also, Siddharth, before I hand it back to you, in the SEBI order, the SEBI has mentioned one thing very, very interesting, and I just want to quickly read that out for our viewers. It says the promoters were running a listed public company as it were a proprietary firm. So while I agree with Mr. Dilip Cherian that, auditors, etc. need to be held accountable, a lot of accountability lies with the promoters, the founders as well. They just can't, be there presenting themselves in conferences, get these awards, 30 under 30, 40 under 40, and then siphon off money, divert public money.
Taking allegedly even the shareholders, the remaining shareholders for a ride. Many thanks for that, Hina, and also thanks a lot for your perspective, Mr. Matthias, as well as Mr. Cherian. I'd also like to thank Priyank, Shivam, as well as Rucha for their inputs on this developing story. We'll track this and much more on the other side of this very short break. Do not go.